Yes, you. I think should we start?
Sure.
Perfect. So, perfect. So, hi everyone. I'm Girish, the founder and CEO of Maxtron, where we are building like some amazing winning products and ensuring their success. And today we are here to discuss around legal and compliance and how the collateralizing of digital assets and what regulators are looking for in the next unicorn projects, which we are focusing around real world assets, digitization of several amazing like IPs, healthcare, gold, and several other digital assets and real world assets. So I have my advisor and investor and partner who has been working with us from last few years here, Hue. So Hugh is here, and he is currently in California. I am right now in India, and we have been coming up with a lot of things together. We are working on amazing projects, some of the massive projects in this financial industry, where we are bringing them and tokenizing them. So we have gone deep into understanding how this can be facilitated to the retail investors, big institutional funds, then hedge funds, then VCs, then angels. And we realize that this piece of information which we have gathered and experienced and we are following is very crucial, and we should literally share it with everyone. We are coming up with one of our funds in Dubai, DIFC license. We are also working in India, where we are also trying to crowdfund and bring a platform together with all the regulations and licenses. And then we also have some of the amazing projects in US, which we are trying to, put together and launch very soon, which is lined up for this coming year, and which is already like, creating a buzz into the market. So rather than, waiting, I would love Hugh, who is a ex SEC Security Exchange Commission officer, and who was working directly with Paul Atkins, who is the current chairman of SEC appointed by Trump. And Hugh has got the amazing chance to work and be in touch and understand how this is evolving and the leaders of this industry and the mover and shaker. So he comes from that background. So rather than waiting, I would love Hugh to speak more about it and share his experience and throw more light on the crucial things which he feels in the industry, which is required for everyone who is watching the show. Hi, Hugh.
Hi, Garish. Good morning, everyone from the West Coast. Thanks for many of you who were able to stay up late. I know we're communicating this at large to our communities and a lot of our young startups, our angel investors, VCs in the UAE, of course, across the landscape in India, and of course some of our strategic partners in UK and Latam as well, in Brazil. So hopefully we can dissect some interesting kind of new trends and legal frameworks. We've had a lot of questions. Garish and I have been on tremendous amount of calls, lengthy calls, with a lot of the Web3 and the crypto blockchain communities at large. And so we just thought with our Maxtron team, be kind of nice to spend some time sharing some of these conversations and these talking points that we believe are very exciting times ahead. So I thought we can kind of just hit some key talking points today. We'll keep it kind of high level if we can, and dig deep into some questions perhaps towards the tail end of this webinar. But really, it's just focusing on currently now how the global legal frameworks around crypto and these tokenized real world assets are evolving. We Garish and I and our team have been in the UAE, especially the last month in Dubai, kind of uh, planting the education footprint around the new laws and legislations, not only here in the U.S., but of course, what's really exciting of all the new favorable regulatory mandates that are happening in UAE, these digital programmable, money-backed securities or tokens, or I wouldn't say securities, but tokens backed by real-world assets. So we'll talk about the tokenization, how it signifies this transformative movement, right, of tangible and intangible um, assets, objects into digital securities, tokens, on a blockchain. And of course, via what we do best is putting everything into a smart contract code. And then we'll talk a little bit about perhaps what founders are getting, what we believe are running into some hurdles and misconceptions about how important regulation and risk management infrastructure is a part, or should be a part of their, obviously, some of these new projects and investments that they're involved in. And then really what compliance actually enables, right, for these young startups with respect to getting funding, um, you know, partnering up with institutional investors, finding the right investors, and the due diligence process as like ourselves as angel investors and VCs, what we look for in the due diligence process. And really, the back end is a strong compliance and risk management infrastructure, especially if they're raising capital around the the avenue of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. And then any questions that you have in regards to just how all of these legal frameworks are happening going forward. So I thought, Girish, we maybe we can set the tone as far as um, our visit last month or the last 2 months, spending time in Dubai and seeing where these crypto policies, right, are well, here in the United States. It's been moving at a very slow pace, right? Or at least in the past it has. The exchanges and the digital wallet structure has always been subject to scrutiny and oversight from all the dozens of these global regulatory bodies. We deal with the FSOC, which is Financial Services Oversight Council, and they're comprised of roughly around 10 to 12 regulatory authorities. And I can walk through a few of them that are more relevant to to the regulations that we have to comply with. And then these token teams, right? They've operated all under sort of a very watchful eye of these securities regulators from day one, and they put sort of what we call a choke point, which was actually operational choke point 2.0 that we were really up against for the last, I guess, 5-7 years here in the states. But only things really started to really kick into gear, we felt like the last 6 to 8 months, especially here in the U.S. with some of the new what is that legislation that's now in the works. We had the crypto bill, which was responsible from the Financial Innovations Act. That was, and I try to remember what year that was kind of materialized, but it was a bipartisan effort from the senators, what we call the strong senators, right? The crypto queens, which was Senator Cynthia Loomis. And of course, we had a lot of strong support uh, in pushing out some of our safe harbor and SEC interpretive releases with the commission. And Commissioner Hester Pierce was a big support with regards to supporting a lot of the safe harbor communications that we put out for the SEC. And now we have, of course, as everyone's familiar with the new administration favorable uh, favorable push towards this new Genius Act, which we'll talk a little bit about in a little bit regarding stable coins And we believe how that is going to be so important, in penetrating uh, this massive, uh, adoption for digital programmable money. And stablecoins has always been sort of um, uh, you know, the stepchild in the last few years, but I think now it's getting its day in the sun. Um, and of course, there we just learned of the ISO 2022 Act format, and that just went into effect, I believe, July 10th, 11th of this year, and that's going to be huge with respect to the sort of this new Fed wire system, and how the Federal Reserve will start to change into this from the old format, and into the ISO 20022 what is that wire system. And I believe that's going to be what we've been talking about for the last couple of years, as far as how it will replace and and move away from the old SWIFT interbank system, and now bring in the you know the communication systems and blockchain, with regards to some big blockchain players like XRP and Hedera, to name a few, XLM as well. So we that might require like a separate, perhaps, webinar and conversation around just that whole new migration, which is going to be very important for the interbanking system. Um, and then really, the moving into this, ultimately, the importance of the three prong um, initiatives with the Financial Services Oversight Council. That's the FSOC, and their mission. And we've been sort of pushing that in the crypto space with respect to their agenda, and that really was to, obviously, number one, protect investors in this space, um, primarily against what we call uh, information asymmetries, right, in the capital markets. And then number two would be, um, that we want to ensure that the financial markets operate fairly and efficiently, right? Promote capital formation in the U.S. as well as globally, and we believe that's what DeFi has been all about. Sort of running with this concept of a mutable, um, transparent, censorship-resistant, and smart contract protocol that really replicates, right, the traditional centralized banking and financial system, but of course in a fair and equitable manner. And then, lately, we here in the states, we with the push of the FSOC, and it's 10 voting members, which would be comprised of, the SEC and the FS the FF the FF I'm sorry, FCFTC. I'm sorry, I lost my synonym there. Of course, the Federal Reserve and the OCC, and then of course, at sort of the lower end of the spectrum within the group is the FDIC. And really, uh, the FSOC has just been a byproduct of the Dodd-Frank Act, and that's been responsible, which I was involved with many years back, when I was in the regulatory consulting space, as an alumni with PwC. Yeah, that particular mission was responsible for, identifying the risk and the emerging threats, right, to our financial system. That was Dodd-Frank's sort of provides that protection for whistleblowers who report violations of securities laws, especially those related to, um, what we look for is self dealings and insider trading fraud. So what now, I think the key areas that we're focused on, importantly, is around policy making, and I'm focusing on the U.S. right now, and as that kind of translates over into the global landscape. But six important policy making issues we wanted to confront, and we have been confronting head on, were for, stablecoin, and banking risk policies and procedures. Um, of course, tighten policies in regards to anti-money laundering and KYC initiatives or infrastructure. Um, the FSOC is looking, of course, into uh, policy making, more strength in policy making around uh, tax evasion and tax avoidance within these tokenomics models, and then of course defining what securities rules, what the definition of what is deemed as a security under the SEC's Howey test. So those just a few of sort of the key areas that we're looking into, and we've been kind of fighting this big monster in the last few years, um, especially as we put forth a lot of these safe harbor rulings and SEC no action letters that are now starting to get some attention with respect to the crypto and tokenization real world asset initiatives. So, Garish, do you have any thoughts on kind of what we were kind of engaged in with uh, our conversations and meetings that we had as well in with the DIFC, more so the DFSA, which is the Dubai's Financial Services Authority, and how that's we're working towards being in alignment with the UAE's futuristic national vision, right? And really focusing on technology, new regulations, and innovations that's happening in the UAE.
No, absolutely, absolutely, Hugh. So like the old way of building was people were starting just to code, but today I feel like, the first step and how people should build anything is like,
Mm.
the legal regulators are your first investors. Then only you can, achieve all those scalability, bring all those capital and play big. So yeah, I think that's a great insight which you have thrown light. I would like to share some more things around the RWA side, which I will come later. But yeah, before that, the one of the most important side is that you have been working with the Paul Atkins, who is the current chairman of SEC, appointed by Trump. So what has been your experience working with him, and being able to see and find like what exactly he's gonna do, and what you feel like what he's gonna bring into the regulatory side of the crypto world, of the digital assets?
Yeah, we were Paul is was years back. Obviously, he spent his term with the SEC as one of the commissioners, and and of course we had the privilege of working with Paul when he later joined our regulatory SEC risk management and consulting group out of New York. And Paul was just one of the amazing partners and managing directors that we all worked together on some big institutional regulatory projects. At that time, this was when you had uh, similar to what we're seeing now in the crypto space. Um, but a few years back, we had the hedge funds sort of all operating, not all of them, under the purview of the SEC's oversight. So that gave us a tremendous opportunity um, similar to what we're looking at now, all these gray areas in the crypto space. We endured that, and working with Paul and seeing how he was, um, his approach was very fair and equitable to the institutions and to the, just putting in the right sort of pragmatic regulatory thought process and how it applies to you know, uh, these entities that are just sort of getting into, the sort of the new space of what the regulators are looking for. So, and then if you look in the last few years, we had now that, of course, Paul is now the new chairman of the SEC, we think there'll be some amazing, as you're seeing already, regulatory. initiatives moving forward, especially around what we just recently just mentioned about stable coins and the tokenization of real world assets, and how there will be some policies that we believe are going to uh, be fair and equitable, right? In allowing these our markets, these capital markets, to function. But when we were working in the last, I guess, the last, I'd say 2 to 5 years going back, we were under the purview of and the oversight of the former chairman Gary Gensler, and Gary, Mr. Gensler once said um, that that DeFi and tokenization platforms, and I quote him saying that they aren't exempt, right? These platforms aren't exempt from the market regulations, even though they are decentralized with no central authority in charge. These DeFi projects, especially what we're dealing with a lot of, these young founders and startups that are getting into the space. These DeFi projects that reward participants, right, with the incentives of digital tokens, will and will enter eventually the territory that is subject to the SEC's purview and regulatory authority, as whether they're defined as securities or not. So that's still sort of something we're working around. But yeah, I think we're in for a lot of great things ahead, as you're already seeing, working and communications with um, some of the current commissioners at the commission, especially as I mentioned earlier, Commissioner Hester Pierce, who's we've deemed as the crypto queen, and working towards really pushing some of these amazing safe harbor initiatives to get the SEC and the industry really to have a better education as far as what this asset class can offer, and of course the transparency and accountability that the system it has is put in place, has put in place. So yeah, I think we have some great things ahead, Vish, as I mentioned, those key areas. And if you look at, I'm sure Paul will be working closely with the FSOC and the 10 members, as I mentioned, or the few members, voting members of those regulatory bodies. I think you're going to see some some really key things start to open up for us in the next 6 months to a year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hugh. I think that's a great experience which you have got working with such amazing people who are driving the industry globally, you know, and that's amazing. Now I would love to, discuss some points around the real world assets and its
Mm,
tokenizations. Like I'm a builder, I'm a serial entrepreneur, being building and working with several projects, tokenizing intellectual property, health data, gaming, different utilities, and even
yeah,
we were, I think you were tokenizing your yacht, which Northwind.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah,
yeah.
that's all coming, and everything is getting into into place. And there are several things like I've been working and realized that some of the important points which anyone has to look when you are tokenizing a real world asset is the maybe the license custodian, which is like a regulated institution which actually holds your digital assets safely in the custody. So it's like digitally equivalent to your bank vault, right? And which
Hmm.
holds the actual asset. There are some trust models like who controls what and how it is controlled, which defines the complete mechanism around that digital world of it. The third and the most important point, which I would love to tell everyone here, is the on-chain attestation, which is the
Hmm.
verifiable proofs on the blockchain, which marks the signatures, timestamp, and data hashes on the blockchain, which proves that yes, the assets still exist and it is held by a particular organization and it is worth this much. So when it comes all together, then only a project grows and is credible enough to become, compliant, to work around, to go around into the investor network and institutions to put money into it and even grow further. So these are some of the important points which we realized while, working around the RWA. But yeah, Hugh, I would love to hear from you. What would be the real cost of, ignoring compliance and just, building it and going into the market, which people are doing? I think the next bull run would be the compliant and the regulated bull run, where each and every products has to be regulated, has to be compliant, has to be legally binded with some or other things. Right now, people are saying obviously that it's decentralized, but again, it's decentralized, but it's on code. But you really want to go global, you really want to be, accessible to all the people, all the banks, all the institutions from day one. So the compliance and regulations hold a big value in any project, whether whatever you're
Yeah.
doing. So yeah, I would love to listen from you, and even the audience should know more about, like, what would be the real cost and of ignoring all these points and not being compliant.
Yeah, well, I think I think we should first think about or share with the audience, like, um, just right now, what we were able to uh, experience, right, as we were touring, um, different regions of UAE, and the growth in, not only here in the US, but of course, really more fast track, in the growth in RWA tokenization projects in UAE, and those are really, um, now driven, right, by a few several factors, and those would, um, those would include, like, as investment opportunities, um, in tokenization allows really for fractionalized ownership and access, right, to these, whether it be real estate, as you mentioned, or uh, any real world asset that has true utility, and use case behind it. And it's allowing for, and why compliance is important is because it's allowing for a wider retail, uh, community to now play in the game, in sort of in mix with what we, have seen in the past, where some of uh, these asset classes were only available to more of the accredited and what we call a sophisticated investors, right? But it's including those with maybe even lower investment capital. So that's why, as you were talking about, having all of these, um, increased, uh, back end, uh, infrastructure from an operational, risk management, and compliance, protocol is so important. And that's important as far as, you know allowing some of these projects to be funded, because they were in the past always, um, put out there with increased scrutiny, right? Now you have increased institutional interest. So a lot of the big institutions and banking networks and or banking institutions and the hedge funds and uh, family wealth offices are all now paying attention to this asset class, and that obviously creates for more requirement for more clear regulatory support, right? And that's what's happening, and that's why you see, we could probably have a whole, I mean, with short a time that we have in this sort of introduction to tokenization and the regulatory landscape, we can have a whole separate discussion just on, um, how all the regulatory support is coming in from the regulatory bodies, right? And then now you have, as you was talking about, there's a lot more technological maturity and advancement in this initiative in this section, a sector. And what we were seeing, at what with Maxtron when we were visiting in Dubai, how we were able to use our, um, our leverage our back end platform infrastructure to provide not only technical and operational support, but again, we we believe we can come in with our resources on the regulatory compliance side across all the UAE, DFSA, and international jurisdiction requirements, right? Um, we also uh, would be focused on managing all the investor onboarding with respect to um, KYC, the importance of KYC and AML compliance, right? To support and provide secure wallet integration, custody infrastructure, as you mentioned earlier, Ganesh, and then enable the importance of compliance oversight to enable both primary issuance and secondary trading of these tokenized assets, right? Once they once they once they launch, and all within hopefully some seamless compliance ecosystem designed for institutional grade scalability. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions a little bit. I kind of got off
No,
limb there, but
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We can hear you perfectly. Yeah, I think that's amazing and that's great. So I think we have already passed like 30 minutes. We can quickly, wrap up with some of the important points. Maybe if you want to tell the audience around maybe some of the amazing projects which you're doing, maybe your plans with the fund which you we are opening in Dubai, and maybe yes, there are some interesting points if you want to highlight. We can quickly do that and take some questions from the audience and try to answer them, which we can see on our screen.
Yeah, I think one thing gosh, you know, I, when you bring back the opportunities that we're really excited about is having that here as a foreign entity right here in the States, and now being able to have this sort of global reach, as you mentioned, one of the you know long-term projects that we've been working on for a while, but seems like now it's allowed us to move the needle, and that is getting our crypto hedge fund established under the DIFC sort of purview, right? And so what Dubai, so everyone kind of has an understanding, is it's you know the regulators are allowing Dubai is really launching their most advanced sort of go-to-market regulatory um, initiatives, right, in the Web3 space. And we've been working with, for our fund, right, Girish, not only with DIFC, but with BARA, right? BARA is the virtual asset regulatory authority that really now is really pushed and allowed licensed crypto entities, that are in already locally domiciled in Dubai or UAE, to host other firms under their license, right? Like ours. So, and this is, if you want to call it a sponsored sort of access opportunity, where this really um, on ramps, great opportunities for guys like us who are out here in sort of as a foreign entity to now launch our crypto products and our fund in the UAE, which before took it was a long time to get. If we were to go like you and I, Greece, we're trying to just get our own license, um, as a main primary investment advisor, that was a longer on ramp. But I think now we're able to bring to market our portfolio projects, um, and then of course the exciting part is to co-raise together, right, as our sub advisor, and the license authority entity that we are being sponsored by. We can bring in a significant amount of AUM together collectively. So just being able to have that regulatory option or support, and then that host or that sponsor to kind of on ramp this in with respect to a lot of our projects is going to be very exciting.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wonderful. So I think you we are getting some questions. One of the question which I would love to highlight here is, that how Web3 startups should think legally from day one. So that's one of the question being asked from one of our audience, and they wanted to hear from us. So yeah, maybe I would love to maybe just start this
Yeah,
questions.
please.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would love to answer, being a builder and being an entrepreneur who have been working on different Web3 projects, and we have gone around the world and worked around different parts of the zones which are active in the Web3 space. So legalities and compliance. We were having one of our partner in our company, who was guiding us with several different legalities, and this space is changing like every 6 months. Like the
Hmm.
compliance, the regulatory governments are pushing different acts. Sometimes it's regulated, unregulated. Indian government is figuring out things, Dubai government is
Yeah.
figuring out things, and all parts of the world are moving in a different way. Some like New York, US is moving with the financial side of approach. India and the developer heavy countries are moving ahead with different developer side of approach. So
Hmm.
everything is coming along together and it's rising. But again, the projects and the sustainability. So that comes when you're talking about legalities, which is very much important. So at least you should figure out that on the first day what exactly your legalities or company structure is gonna be, and then you can take your time to over the time when you are building, because that again comes with a cost, with a retainer model, with annual fees and several things. So until unless you are big enough to afford that, you can still run on a lean model and start building, but with a clarity and a complete blueprint of how that will unfold. Or else, if you set up a wrong structure, again everything goes haywire when the actual thing comes for you to scale, to raise big institutional money, to sign big deals, and move things around. So yeah, that is something which is very important. So the compliance does not slow you down. It
Hmm.
enables you to play the longer game. And I feel, next 100 unicorns would not just be decentralized, it will be defensible, compliant, and globally bankable from day one. So yeah, that's the quick insight on that. Hugh, if you want to add something, would love to have your insight as
Yeah.
well.
No, no. Look, um, uh, the other thing too is for a lot of these young startups, they come in with an amazing vision, product. You and I have been angel investors in some of them, some of these projects. Some of them obviously have gone to market and doing well, and then of course some, you know, didn't structure it like as you just laid out. Didn't think of sort of the importance of putting together the back end strength on from an operational compliance risk management protocol, right? And where some of these projects really mature, right? Ganesh, is especially as they're raising capital through the crypto markets, and now being able to collateralize, right? Their whether it be with their IP or they have a particular um, what is that real world asset, right? Like if you talking about real estate and raising liquidity for a big real estate development project. The mission is to unlock liquidity, but how do you do that when you're in front of now really um, scrutinizing investors that are going to ask those tough questions, right? As far as what 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 models of your, let's say if you're going to put together a tokenomics roadmap, right, for your capital raise or your fundraise, they want to look at not only can you uh, raise capital for the early seed rounds, but then once that those use of those funds come in, um, what what allocation are you going to put in place that is fair and equitable to manage the use of those funds, and of course set aside a you know a responsible amount to where it is to support. right? The infrastructure, the compliance, and um, the security aspect of these funds, right? And so that I think is sometimes when we talk to these young startups, they're all about the go to market um, component, fast and furious, but they don't think about again some of the non-sexy stuff that we have to deal with or support on the back end, and that's important as far as getting involved in these tokenization, models and projects that we're involved in. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great answer and insight, And so, Hugh, I think there are a few more things, but yeah, I think I would love you to, discuss about some of the amazing projects. Maybe you were like tokenizing yachts, you were tokenizing several, you were part of a metaverse, and you are part, like you have been my investor in the intellectual property startup as well, and you're into the some of the precious metals and some amazing global projects which you have been. So how do you see this industry being evolved? Like you have gone around the world, you were in Tokyo, Dubai, US, and all those places, and working globally with that global exposure. So how do you feel this industry? Like you are a complete degen. When I met you, I realized that yes, you live Web3, you live digital assets. So yeah, where this drive comes to you, and how you look this evolving over the time, because people, like most of the people I right now, I was discussing with you, that with some of the
Hmm.
regulations where you can collateralize the digital asset, is making your digital asset equal to a real estate, right? But people maybe right now are not able to feel it, maybe realize
Yeah,
that what exactly has changed, how this world is gonna behave now, and by the
yeah,
time it comes, it will they will be struck, and few people would take the advantage of this opportunity and be much ahead than people who are not able to understand also. So yeah, so I want to understand, how do you see this evolving maybe in next 5 years, and how big is this RWA and some of the amazing opportunities which is bringing the world's liquidity into it, right? So just some
yeah.
insights on that. And yeah, we have last, I think, 16 minutes, and then we can give a conclusion and take a leave for today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can always answer
Absolutely.
yeah, you and I have spent so many hours, and that's what makes our job or our these projects fun is when we travel throughout the world and different continents, and we get to meet so many young entrepreneurs and really ambitious, hungry co-founders like ourselves, right? And and they're just looking for, uh, they're looking for guidance, and of course, ultimately, they want to understand how do they tap into liquidity, for some of their projects, because some of them are not being heard. So now bringing that education to them on why tokenize, these real world assets, and bringing that to the table to share with some of these young, young founders. And tokenization for me, um, and some of the projects that I've worked on, invested in, and as well as yourself, Krish, and we've invested in together, is really the opportunity to unlock a new way, uh, you know, to monetize from some of these illiquid assets, right? So, for example, you and I were involved 3 years in the making with this historic yacht, right, with the Northwind, and we believed it had an amazing uh, what is that use case as far as not only the history, but it's now turned into this Web3 incubator, right? And so we tokenizing, we felt that was a great use case for a tokenization project, and an investment, sort of taking this, you know, domiciled or just kind of immobile vessel and getting it into restoration, telling its history on the filmmaking side. So there was a use case there as bringing in the interest in tokenization. tokenizing it as a real world asset. And then you look at uh, the opportunities where we were looking to restore the this vessel and many other vessels in maritime that we're working with um, into a renewable energy protocol, right? And that's where the love for what I've been working on with some of our engineers in hydrogen, right? Fission, and bringing this vessel into the 22nd century with hydrogen fuel cell technology. So that baked in again another great use case and utility for the tokenization roadmap for this project. And then if you look at lastly some of the other projects like we've been working in with NFTs and um, you
Absolutely.
know right? Sports, memorabilia, artists, these art collectors, right? They can tokenize their rare collections, whether it be trading cards or Mona Lisa painting, by fractionalizing, right, and sharing ownership of that asset with now investors across the world, and then delivering that custody of underlying assets to I don't know, a museum or some kind of display for safekeeping, where now the the investment is in that digital programmable token that now can trade on a primary or a secondary exchange. So it's just really for me overall, it's this can help um, retain, giving a fair and equitable opportunity for fractionalized ownership, and then unlocking liquidity uh, from an asset that is maybe in its current um, space
Yeah,
is illiquid, right? And that's what we
got
saw
it.
with the Northwind, and we're seeing that now tokenizing projects around even gold. We're maybe for another session we can talk about how we're moving forward on
Yes.
with precious metals and tokenizing projects that we have around precious metals, and especially with gold right now is a very exciting times with gold now becoming classified under Basel III as a tier one, highly liquid asset, which again is getting a lot of movement in the tokenization space. So that's what you and I and our ecosystem have been working on, and maybe that could be something you can share the progress there in another webinar.
No, absolutely. That's great. That's great. So I would love to, conclude this all together so that we can, tell all the audience that they can reach out to us anytime at Maxtron. We have been trying to create winning products, enabling all the founders and ensuring their success with our network, with our fund, which we have lined up with different parts of the funds, partners, investors attached to us in our closed syndicate and private group. So we would love to, give the access to the qualified and due diligence of the after the due diligence of those projects. So yeah, we would love all the people to reach out to us and connect us. You is there. I am there on LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitter, and people can also follow us on Maxtron, so people can come all together. We have a great team, very enthusiastic team, all like
Yeah.
Degen, Web3 native, crypto native, and Hugh gives us the energy. He was in India with our team. We were in Dubai together, and I have been there in several times in US, spending a great time on the yacht, which he was just talking about, sometime living in the pilot room or the Queen Elizabeth room or some because it has a great history. So maybe we can bring more around that on the social media and share a great story and a snapshot of those moments, which we will try to give audience a glimpse. And we would love everyone to be a part of these projects. Maybe the Northwind, the precious metals, the data, and all these, because these are different teams and different groups where we need more people to accelerate that. So
Yeah.
we open our hands. Please come and join us, our groups, our communities, our projects, our funds, and our knowledge, and even let's make a very strong, powerful pack of wolves which are taking this mission and vision ahead in this global market. And Hugh, I would love you to maybe conclude and give a, a closing note so everyone can, remember and reach out to us with the right context.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll probably share more, Ganesh and I and our Maxon team in regards to uh, even the next steps in we've been formalizing and the team has been working around the clock to put together sort of our, if you want to call it our incubator technology, uh, you know, structure where, well, actually it's like what we did with Grow at 8, right, Agrish? But it'll be another
Yes.
technology incubator syndicate, and it's just getting it's an app where we're going to be getting a lot of our communities, Web3 communities, all interconnected within this ecosystem, our ecosystem. And you're talking about connecting them to, I would say, our founders, right? We work with a lot of young co-founders and founders and their startups, and now it's getting them interconnected with our investment groups, our VCs, our angels, and of course, we're excited with getting our hedge fund, up and running very soon. So that incubator, well, or accelerator will be very exciting as far as bringing these communities together. So we hope that we can share more, educate more, and just get everybody within our ecosystem who needs help and guidance, because there's a lot to learn. And my always guidance to our team is, we're we're always seeking knowledge and wisdom, and this industry just moves so fast. Regulations come in, regulations are put on hold, and then of course, just working with some of these new projects that blow my mind when it comes to new AI technology, or we're working with founders that are focused on climate tech initiatives, very exciting around deep tech as well. So we're looking at deal flow every day, right, Ganesh? And it's nonstop, but
Absolutely.
it's so exciting, and it keeps me young, and and again, just my last piece of word is just always continue to seek infinite knowledge, and work around building a strong network, because at the end of the day, we can't do a lot of stuff on our own. We need a dynamic team, and that's what I think Girish has done an amazing job uh, in putting together all these, you know, um, different uh, experience and experts in all different areas of the Web3 economy. So my hat's off to him, and I'm really excited that we have a lot of big things ahead for us.
That's amazing. Thank you, Hugh. I think that's
Yes.
really nice. People can reach out to him. I think he's on LinkedIn, Hugh Nguyen, and his email ID hue@maxtron.ai. And people can reach out to me at girish@maxtron.ai. Write to us, CC us, and we'd love to explore all the opportunities, all the
Mhm.
partnerships, any from anywhere in the world. So we are like global travelers. We just love to go and explore the opportunity, crack it down, close it, move it ahead, and materialize it. So looking forward to join hands, and we'll keep you stay tuned for the next webinar and next set of information which we'll gather from the world, and would love to share it with the world. Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
absolutely.
Hugh. Yeah, you
Yeah.
you can conclude and yeah, have a bit of great
No,
farewell.
that's it.
Yeah,
No, you did great.
perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
And we'll
you.
hope maybe the next webinar we'll be doing it out together in Dubai. So we'll probably be heading
Absolutely.
out
That
there
would be
very
great.
soon. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
There's a lot
everyone.
of new big things going on. We'll keep you updated. All the best. Take care. Bye,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
See you. Take care.